lobsters, lighthouses, and Christmas trees. Today we're talking about Nova Scotia. Welcome to Vacation Mavens, the podcast that brings you travel inspiration and practical tips from two moms who know how to plan the perfect trip.
I'm Tamara from Your Time to Fly.
And I'm Kim from Stuffed Suitcase. With over 40 years of travel experience between us, we're here to share our favorite destinations from road trips to cruising, theme parks, and European adventures.
Whether you're planning a family vacation or a mom getaway, we have the tips and tricks to make memories that will last a lifetime.
Kim, I know that we're going to jump into a lot of holiday discussion soon, but I'm thinking about 2025. And you and I have been doing this for we're going on 9 years.
Yeah, I was thinking we celebrated 8 years, right?
Yeah.
We're going on 9 years. We'll have, Man, that means in 2026, we're going to have to do a 10-year, some kind of celebration.
Retreat, maybe?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think that'd be fun.
But I think in the next year, we've been talking about what can we do to make things better? What can we do to continue to interest our audience? We love you guys. You guys are always giving us such great feedback. And I always really appreciate every time somebody reaches out to me and shares the podcast on social media or anything like that.
Absolutely.
But we're thinking of changing it up a little bit and making it where we add some video, because as much as we've avoided that because neither of us is loving being on camera all the time, I know that actually more people are watching podcasts on YouTube than other places. Yeah. So I think it's important that we do that in case you're interested in seeing what we look like. We can't make any promises of how nice we will look, but whatever. And then just like doing things more regularly. But we'd really like to hear from you guys and hear what would you like. Do you prefer the shorter episodes? Recently, we've been trying to keep them to about half an hour. We could try to shorten those up even more. Do you prefer that versus the longer episodes that we used to do? Do you like having something every week, or is that too much to keep up with and you like every other week? We really want to hear from you.
Absolutely. We would love to hear what you guys are envisioning that you would like to. Where do you want us to go? You guys, so many of you stayed loyal through us after the pandemic and everything and came back and kept listening, but we definitely want to keep growing and put more effort into this. So we'd love to hear from you guys.
So feel free to shoot us a line, either our email. It's Tamara at Your Time to Fly or Kim at Stuffed Suitcase. You can message either of us on social media, leave something on our Vacation Mavens Instagram account. There are a lot of ways to reach us, but we would love to hear from you. And as always, if you can recommend it to a friend or share it on social media, we always appreciate that. Or if you want to give us a review on whatever podcast app you're listening on, that would be terrific as well.
Yes, please. So Tamara, as we wrap out of 2024, I know you just got back from a holiday trip. I'm about ready to go on one when we record this. And so I thought we'd take today to talk a little bit about Nova Scotia, which is in the eastern part of Canada. And it's a province I was in basically flew into there before I went to Prince Edward Island, but I don't know much about it. So I thought maybe this would be a good time to tell people all about this little province they might not know about.
Yeah, I would love to. And it's funny because when I was on the trip, I kept seeing things that talked about East Coast. But then what I thought was on the southwest coast of Nova Scotia. So confused. I'm like, what is this? And then I realized that Canadians are just referring to all the Atlantic, like maritime provinces of the East Coast. I'm like, okay, got it. Understand now. But yeah, I went to Halifax and Nova Scotia in December, which is probably not when most people go because it's really thought of as a summer and fall destination. Like people think about the lighthouses, the lobster, the seafood, the cute little fishing villages. There's cruises that go up there. So it is not really top of mind when it comes to holiday. But I know you and I have both really gotten into wanting to visit places to enjoy their holiday festivities. You just flew to Dublin and did that, and you're going to New York City to do that. And like last year I did the German Christmas markets. I just really recommend doing something like around the holidays to put you in the holiday spirit, especially if you've been like a little bummed out or like things are just not feeling particularly holiday-ish. There's nothing like, it's not even just the lights and the music and things like that, but it's the coming together of community. And that's what I really saw on this trip. Like I started in Halifax, but then I visited a few small towns, and it was literally like being in a Hallmark movie where like the whole town turns up. I kept waiting for the moment.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah, and I haven't even watched them, but I can just picture like that moment where like big city girl comes back to her hometown and she's walking around the Christmas parade and sees the high school, boyfriend, and then they rekindle it and they we have s'mores, and I don't know. Like it
There's
felt.
been one or two of those that are like,
I imagine. I can definitely imagine, but it had that vibe, and it just had such a good community vibe where people were out. Once again, Canadians will go out in the freezing cold. It doesn't matter, and I'm always impressed by it because they make it fun and have a good time, like as a community. So if you're looking for some of that small town feel, obviously we're going to be talking about New York City in a couple of weeks. That's totally different type of holiday travel. But if you want more of that small town feel, I definitely think that Nova Scotia, yeah, it hit that note for me.
I would also say that we mentioned this when I talked recently about Victoria, but the bad for Canadians, but the exchange rate is very favorable for Americans as well right now. Visiting that area as opposed to maybe the east coast of the US is also a budget benefit a little bit that way as well.
Yeah, for sure. And there's really cute like bed and breakfasts and other types of accommodations. So you can find whatever vibe you're searching for. But I think for us, for me, being in the Northeast, what was really nice is that it is only an hour and a half flight from Boston, direct flight. And there's also direct flights, I think, from Newark and maybe DC. Actually, I saw one from Tampa because I think a lot of Canadians like to go to Florida in the winter. Really easy to get to for me. And that makes it a lot more appealing, like you're going to another country, but you're having a very short flight. So that was super easy. I started in Halifax, which is the main city, and is really like a cute mix. There were some parts of it that reminded me a little bit of Quebec City, but then there's also like modern condo buildings and tall like high rises, and there's a university, and so there's a liveliness to it even in the winter. But yet I could imagine what the waterfront would be like when like cruise ships and summer travel is in full swing. But for me, like just walking along like by myself was really nice. And they do a lot just in downtown Halifax. They have an Evergreen Festival, which goes on for 4 weeks. And there's different events that take place different nights of the week, but there's holiday displays like all over the place. There's a little market. There's maybe 20 stalls of Christmas market. So it's not the same charm as a German Christmas market with a lot of handcrafts, but that's where you find like a lot of like the craft distilleries are showing their things, or local makers are showing their things. And there's fire pits, and you can enjoy like drinks and s'mores and things by the fire pits and under the lights. So yeah, that's really pretty. But they also had some very Canadian things. Like they have a sports area, which wasn't open the day that I was there, but they have a little mini curling. So I'm like, yeah, that's Canadian Christmas. You know?
Yeah, of course. I like that.
Yeah, so definitely like a lot to do there. And then for families, there's an event that takes place every year that benefits their children's hospital called Glow Gardens. And it is actually, at first I was thinking it was like outdoors because it's called Gardens, and it was raining the day. And I'm like, uh-oh. But it's actually all indoors. It's in like an old like exhibition hall or center. So it was in multiple areas, but had over 1 million lights. And so they had all these walk-through light displays that you can take pictures with, like ornaments and gift boxes and just like Santas and penguins and like just all these like really nice light displays. But then also for kids, they had those inflatable like bouncy houses and roller skating and mini golf and a little Santa train. And they had a performer like dressed as Elsa singing Frozen, and just like all these different either like entertainment or photo ops. And then all throughout the space, they had this little bar serving this local drink or this local craft beer. And then they had like little food areas. They had even, had a swing, like one of those like Buccaneer pirate ship kind of swings.
Oh, right. So it was
all indoors.
Yeah. But it wasn't like a football field stadium type thing. It was.
No.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So it seems like a huge event. Like tons of kids were completely loving it. I felt a little bit like I was like they were going to report me. Yeah. Here I am. I'm like trying very carefully to not take pictures of any kids. But yeah, when I walked in, they were like, just for one. And I'm like, yeah, just me. But definitely if you're going with family, that was a really fun thing to do. Or even just like adults, but you have somebody like you want to take pictures with or something like that. But yeah, like a lot of fun things like that. But I think really what was special about it is once you like leave the city as well and start to go into the smaller towns.
Okay. So first of all, how long were you there? And then
I was there a total of 6 nights. So I think I had 5 full days.
Quite a while. Okay. So you were in Halifax for a couple.
Yeah, 3 nights in Halifax, so 2 full days in Halifax, which I think is just about right. Because I also wanted to visit some of the museums. Like they have a museum called Pier 21. It's their immigration museum. So it's like their Ellis Island.
Yeah.
And then they have
Okay.
a Maritime Museum, which has like fragments from the Titanic in it, which was interesting.
Right.
And so, and just a few other things. Like there's plenty to do and see, but I would say I think 2 full days in Halifax is
Okay.
good.
And
Yeah.
then where'd you head?
Then I went to a bunch of small towns. So I stopped briefly in town of New Ross, which is actually their Christmas tree capital of the world because they export a lot of
Right.
their fir trees.
Okay.
So it has a lot of the tree farms that you can go visit. And it was really nice because it snowed when I was there.
Oh,
Otherwise, it was like
yeah.
very rainy.
I saw your story
Yeah.
about that. Yeah. Yep.
Which I imagine if all that was snow, it would be like beautiful. But I also stopped at a couple of lighthouses. Like I went to Peggy's Cove first because that's like very famous. And I ate a lot of lobster. But then the first night I stayed at a town called Mahone Bay. And they were in each of these little towns. It helps to do a little research ahead of time because each of these little towns has some type of Christmas festival going on,
Oh,
but on different days. And there might be different activities going on different days. So like the first night that I was there, they had the small craft fair and then like a Christmas bells concert and a few other things going on like throughout town. But these are just like little cute coastal towns with like really nice bed and breakfasts, a few restaurants, cute little shops. So if you want to go do some shopping, that's a unique local type of things. There's plenty of places to do that. And then the next day I went to the town of Lunenberg, which I think was actually one of my favorites because it had really beautiful architecture, really nice like waterfront, very colorful buildings, but also a good amount of shops, a nice bookstore, like quite a few restaurants. So I feel like you could base there and explore the area, even in the summertime would be nice.
that sounds fabulous. I'm guessing that, like you said, traveling in the off season, you should really be careful about your planning and pack well and all of that. But sounds like you probably are beating some crowds as well.
Yeah. And then the next place I went to, I also want to just say how sweet this place was. The town is Shelburne. And the place that I stayed is called Albert's Inn. And it was right on the water. And I don't know if you saw my Instagram story about the room that I had, but I had this king waterfront harbor view room that was literally wraparound windows. It was basically an apartment. It was huge.
Amazing.
And I just thought, wow, I'm loving this in the winter. Like I can only imagine if I was here in the summer, just getting to take in those views, watch the sunsets, and then just walk around town. And this was the town, they had something called Miracle on Dock Square, because that's like the name of the street. And it started with a walk through Christmas parade. So instead of like parade floats going down the street, they're like parked along the street, and then you can walk around town and see the different floats that have been designed by the different organizations in town. And they had the thing with Santa, they had a craft fair, they had different places where you could get hot chocolate. They had just different stands around offering different food or crafts or things. They had this little Whoville area. It was just, there was so many families with kids in wagons or just like walking around all bundled up. Like it was clearly an event that people were like really looking forward to. They were out there as a community. Like I would see people like, oh, hi, hugging each other. And it was a really nice event.
Like small town charm.
Small town charm, absolutely. And then it finished with fireworks.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, over the water, which I thought was really nice and pretty.
So I'm just trying to think through this. I assume you rented a car in Halifax. About how long of a drive did you go around? Because I know Nova Scotia, it feels like it's not a big province, but it has some length to it. So
I really focused just on the Southwest coast. Okay. And each of my drives was maybe like an hour, but some towns were maybe 15 to 30 minutes in between. So if I went from Mahone Bay to Lunenberg, I think that was only like 15 minutes. But then I went down to Shelburne, and that was like an hour and a half or so.
Nice.
So,
and you didn't have any issue with parking? Was there ample, easy to find parking lots or street parking?
Yeah, very easy.
Awesome.
I have a nice thing of there not being a lot of people around.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And staying in town. So basically parking in the lot for the inn and then walking from there as well.
Perfect. Yeah.
No trouble getting into places to eat. Everything was very easy and very nice.
There is really some benefit to traveling to places in the off season, because if you can manage just, bundling up or your expectations, you and I both live in 4-season weather climates, and if you dress right and know how to deal with it, there is some benefit to avoiding the crowds, in my opinion, because I'm not a crowds person. Yeah.
I always say that as much as I am home and only want to be on my couch covered in a blanket when it's cold, like when I travel, I'm much more willing to go out and do things and see things. So there's something about, even if you think you're not a wintry person, I think if you
Right.
get out of your home environment, you're more likely to like want to experience things.
Absolutely. So did you have any, let me figure out how to say it better. So it sounds like your trip started coming to an end. So what did you do for your final little bit of time in Nova Scotia?
One of the things that I did was try to find all of the lobster trap and buoy trees, like Christmas trees. I don't know if you,
Yep.
do you guys have those on the West Coast?
No, we don't.
So
Yeah, we do the crab pots are not the same. Yeah, no, we don't do have that.
it's become a bit of a bigger thing in New England. Like I know Newport has one and Port, York, Maine. There's different places where I know you can see them, but they're much, much more popular up in Nova Scotia. And they're really cool to see during the day, but it's really nice if you can see them at night. But I wasn't always close enough, but I tried to at least see one or two at night. But basically, it's just like stacks of lobster traps that they then decorate with like lights and evergreen.
I've
and
seen your stories.
Yes, they're
People at the
fun.
museum.
Those
Yeah.
are fun. So one day when it was raining, I just drove around, looked at those because I wasn't about to take like a long walk on the beach or something like that. But the one place that I wanted to mention that I really loved that I stayed at on my last night is called the White Point Beach Resort. And it is a mixture of, actually, I think they might have lodge rooms there too as well, but a mixture of cabins and also these, what they call glomes. So they're glamping domes. And I love glamping. Like it's fun. And I've stayed at a dome actually when I was in New Brunswick before. But I wasn't sure what it was going to be like in the winter. And part of me was like, oh no, like what if I have to walk like far? Can I park next to it? Am I going to have to carry my bag through snow? What is it? Is it going to be warm enough? Because I've stayed at some cabins or like the under canvas type of tents, even in October where I've been absolutely freezing.
Yeah.
And this was actually so cozy. So I stayed in one of their glomes and it was a nice king bed, really comfortable. It had a gas fireplace. It has heating. It has a kitchen. It has a bathroom. It has a deck with a hot tub and it overlooks the water. So it's just, if you're looking for something a little bit unique, I would absolutely say I stayed at a couple of great bed and breakfasts. I stayed at a nice Marriott when I was in Halifax. But this, if you're looking for something unique, is something that's really cool because not everything is situated to do the winter well, I think, when it comes to glamping.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
because it's part of this resort, they have a main lodge that has a bar with live entertainment and a restaurant, and they have all these activities happening all the time, like yoga or kids crafts and things like that. So I really found it to be like if you want to just go and have that be your home base and explore locally from there, that would be a good choice.
Good to know. It sounds like it was a really nice little getaway for you. I love the Maritimes of Canada, so makes me want to get back over there.
Yeah, I still want to do Newfoundland. I still like to see the Cape Breton, northern part of Nova Scotia. There's still so much to do, but also still so many places I want to go for Christmas. I'm starting to think about
Absolutely.
next year, Copenhagen or Prague.
Oh.
Would either of those be of interest?
Yeah, I definitely want to do European Christmas market, real European Christmas market. I was in Dublin, which I don't know if we'll have a chance for me to talk about my quick little trip there, but it was not what I expect. And I had known that going into it. So thankfully I prepared myself. But yeah, European Christmas market with handcrafted, especially like the German. I just would love like an authentic nutcracker and things like that.
Yeah.
Are still on my wish list. Yeah, got to make that happen.
Got to make it happen. All right. Don't forget, if you have some feedback for us on what you would like to see in 2025, please leave us a message. Otherwise, if you can leave a rating or review or share it with a friend, we'd appreciate it.
We will talk to you guys again soon.
Bye.
If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe and rate and review on your favorite podcast app, as that helps other people discover us. And if you want to see more, follow me, Tamara, at Your Time to Fly on Instagram and Facebook and all the others.
And you can follow me, Kim, at Stuffed Suitcase on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, my blog.